What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about America's future was about to be turned upside down? The blind mystic Baba Vanga didn't just predict global events. Decades before they happened, she saw something for America in 2025 that authorities don't want you to know. Her most disturbing prophecy wasn't just about economic collapse or natural disasters. It was about a fundamental shift that will transform the very fabric of American society. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal what Baba Vanga actually saw for America in 2025, why these predictions have proven eerily accurate throughout history, and most importantly, what you can do right now to prepare for what's coming. What you're about to learn might shock you, but ignoring these warnings could be the biggest mistake you ever make. You might be skeptical, and you should be. But by the end of this video, you'll understand why Baba Vanga's track record has world leaders paying attention, and why 2025 could be the year that changes everything for America. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might be the most important information you'll hear this year. Who was Baba Vanga, and why should we listen? Before we dive into her shocking predictions for America in 2025, let's understand who Baba Vanga really was. Born Vangelia Pandava-Gusterova 1911 in what is now North Macedonia, Baba Vanga lost her sight during a powerful storm when she was just 12 years old. Witnesses described how she was lifted into the air by a powerful tornado and found days later, her eyes sealed shut with sand and dust, leaving her permanently blind. But this tragedy marked the beginning of something extraordinary. Shortly after losing her physical sight, Vanga claimed to have gained a different kind of vision, the ability to see into the future and communicate with the dead. While Western audiences might have only recently discovered her in Eastern Europe and Russia, Baba Vanga was revered as a powerful clairvoyant whose predictions commanded respect from ordinary citizens and world leaders alike. What makes her prophecies so compelling isn't just their dramatic nature, it's their uncanny accuracy. Consider these verified predictions. In the 1980s, she predicted the 9/11 attacks with chilling precision. Horror, horror. The American brethren will fall after being attacked by the Steelbirds. She foresaw the 2004 tsunami in Asia, stating, "A huge wave will cover a big coast covered with people and towns, and everything will disappear beneath the water." In 1979, she warned about Russia's future. "All will thaw like ice. Only one remains untouched. Vladimir's glory, the glory of Russia." Many interpret this as predicting the fall of the Soviet Union and Putin's rise. She predicted the Chernobyl disaster in the 1950s when she said, "A big star will fall on Earth, and big waves will drown large seashores." These aren't vague generalities later reinterpreted to fit events. They contain specific details that later manifested with disturbing accuracy. And unlike many self-proclaimed psychics who seek fame and fortune, Baba Vanga lived modestly until her death in 1996, never seeking wealth from her abilities. What's even more remarkable is that scientists who studied her claimed she had an 85% accuracy rate with her predictions, far beyond statistical probability or lucky guesses. Russian scientists who investigated her abilities during the Cold War concluded that she possessed genuine psychic powers, though they couldn't explain their source. So, when we examine her predictions for America in 2025, we aren't just indulging in sensationalism. We're looking at forecasts from someone with a documented history of accurately predicting world-changing events decades before they happened. The economic collapse, America's financial reckoning. One of Baba Vanga's most alarming predictions for America in 2025 concerns a catastrophic economic collapse unlike anything the country has experienced before. According to her vision, this won't be a typical recession or market correction. It will fundamentally reshape the American economic landscape and trigger global financial chaos. The signs are already becoming visible for those paying attention. The United States currently carries a national debt exceeding $34 trillion, a number so astronomical it's difficult to comprehend. This debt burden costs American taxpayers over $1 billion in interest payments every day. Let that sink in for a moment. Not million, billion, every single day. Meanwhile, inflation continues to erode purchasing power despite official assurances that it's under control. The average American family now spends 45% more on essential goods than they did just 3 years ago. Housing costs have skyrocketed, with the median home price now unaffordable for over 75% of Americans in major metropolitan areas. But Vanga's prediction goes beyond these troubling trends. She specifically foresaw a great division of wealth leading to societal breakdown, exactly what we're witnessing with today's unprecedented wealth inequality. The richest 1% of Americans now own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined, creating dangerous social tensions. What makes this prediction particularly ominous is how it aligns with warnings from respected financial experts. Economists like Peter Schiff, Michael Burry, who predicted the 2008 housing crisis, and even institutions like the IMF have issued warnings about America's unsustainable financial path. Vanga's vision simply puts a timeline on what many experts already fear is inevitable. According to her prophecy, the collapse will begin in the financial markets with a sudden, dramatic plunge that dwarfs previous crashes. This will trigger a cascade of bank failures as liquidity dries up overnight. The government's ability to intervene will be severely limited by its existing debt burden, creating a perfect storm of economic distress. The ripple effects will be felt globally, with international markets experiencing simultaneous crashes. Countries heavily invested in U.S. Treasury bonds, particularly China and Japan, will face their own crises as the value of their holdings plummets. The global reserve status of the U.S. dollar, long considered unassailable, will be seriously threatened for the first time since the Bretton Woods Agreement. For average Americans, this translates to devastating personal financial consequences. Retirement accounts wiped out, home values collapsing, and unemployment reaching levels not seen since the Great Depression. Most alarmingly, Vanga predicted this would happen with breathtaking speed. Not a gradual decline, but a sudden, system-wide failure that leaves most people unprepared. Those who dismiss these warnings do so at their peril. The mathematical reality of America's financial situation doesn't require psychic abilities to recognize its unsustainability. Vanga simply saw the inevitable conclusion before others, just as she foresaw other major world events decades in advance: the environmental catastrophe, nature's revenge. While economic collapse would be devastating enough, Baba Vanga's predictions for America in 2025 also include an unprecedented environmental catastrophe, one that will transform the physical landscape of the United States and test the nation's resilience like never before. According to her vision, America will face a great water tragedy that affects multiple states simultaneously. This isn't just another hurricane or flood, but something far more severe: a convergence of extreme weather events that overwhelm emergency response systems and force mass evacuations from regions previously considered safe. The warning signs of this impending disaster are already appearing. Climate scientists have documented the accelerating intensity of weather patterns across North America, with rainfall density increasing by 7% for every degree of global warming. The atmospheric rivers that recently devastated California aren't anomalies, they're previews of what's coming. Even more concerning, Vanga specifically mentioned America's aging water infrastructure as a contributing factor to the disaster. Today, over 2.2 million miles of U.S. water pipes are approaching or past their intended lifespan. The American Society of Civil Engineers gives America's dams D safety rating, with over 15,000 classified as high hazard potential. These aren't just statistics, they're vulnerabilities that align perfectly with Vanga's prophecy. The predicted disaster appears to involve a complex interaction between extreme weather and infrastructure failure. Vanga described water where it shouldn't be and no water where it's needed most, and suggesting simultaneous flooding in some regions while others experience catastrophic drought and water shortages. Most alarmingly, she indicated this environmental crisis will coincide with the economic collapse, creating a perfect storm where financial resources needed for disaster response are unavailable precisely when they're most desperately needed. Federal emergency agencies, already stretched thin by increasing disaster frequency, will be overwhelmed by multiple simultaneous crises. For Americans living in coastal areas or near major waterways, this prediction carries particular urgency. The environmental disaster Vanga foresaw won't be limited to traditional high-risk zones. It will affect regions previously considered safe from major water-related catastrophes, catching millions unprepared. What makes this prophecy especially troubling is how it intersects with current environmental trends. The acceleration of polar ice melt is already causing sea level rise to outpace previous projections. Groundwater depletion in key agricultural regions has reached critical levels. Weather pattern disruption has increased the frequency of atmospheric blocking events that cause weather systems to stall and intensify over specific regions. These aren't speculative scenarios. They're documented changes occurring right now. Vanga's prediction simply connects these trends to a specific timeline and warns of their convergence into a catastrophic event that will strain America's resources and resolve to their breaking point. Political upheaval, the leadership crisis. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Baba Vanga's predictions for America in 2025 involves a profound political crisis that threatens the very foundations of American democracy. According to her vision, the United States will experience a period of intense political instability unlike anything seen since the Civil War, a time when the peaceful transfer of power, long considered the hallmark of American democracy, comes under unprecedented strain. The signs of this approaching crisis are increasingly difficult to ignore. Political polarization has reached extreme levels, with studies showing that Americans hold more negative views of opposing political parties than any time in recorded history. The basic consensus about democratic norms and institutions that once united Americans despite their differences has severely eroded. Vanga specifically predicted a leadership vacuum emerging in 2025, a period when traditional sources of authority lose legitimacy in the eyes of large portions of the population. This aligns disturbingly with current trends in institutional trust. Recent surveys show that public confidence in government, media, and even the electoral system itself has reached historic lows. According to her prophecy, this crisis will manifest in 3 distinct phases. First, a contested transfer of power that leaves the country deeply divided about legitimate leadership. This creates a dangerous environment where parallel power structures emerge, each claiming rightful authority. Second, social unrest far beyond recent experiences, with sustained civil disturbances in major cities as economic hardship intensifies existing tensions. Vanga warned of brother against brother, language eerily reminiscent of Civil War-era divisions. Finally, the emergence of a previously unknown figure who rises to prominence amid the chaos. Vanga described this person as neither left nor right, but something entirely new, who will propose radical solutions to America's compounding crises. What makes this prediction particularly concerning is how it intersects with the economic and environmental disasters previously discussed. History shows that political extremism thrives during periods of economic hardship and perceived governmental failure. When people lose homes, jobs, and savings, radical alternatives to existing systems gain traction. Modern technology adds an explosive accelerant to this volatile situation. Social media algorithms designed to maximize engagement naturally amplify the most emotionally provocative content, driving users toward increasingly extreme positions. Foreign adversaries have demonstrated both the capability and intention to exploit these divisions through sophisticated influence operations. Vanga's prediction suggests this political crisis won't be resolved quickly or easily. She spoke of a great dividing that fundamentally transforms America's governance and national identity, not a temporary disruption, but a systemic realignment that permanently alters the country's political landscape. For ordinary Americans, this translates to difficult choices about where to place their trust when traditional institutions falter. The social fabric that holds communities together will be severely tested as political identities override other forms of connection and belonging. Those who dismiss such scenarios as alarmist should remember that democratic backsliding rarely announces itself dramatically. Instead, it occurs through incremental erosion of norms and safeguards, each step seemingly reasonable in isolation until the cumulative effect becomes irreversible. Vanga's vision simply compresses this timeline and warns of its acceleration.